In the ancient days, they said that when first man and first woman were walking about, they didn't have any clothes and it was cold. And so one of our ancient deities, Spider Woman, saw them and took pity on them. And she instructed them on the ways of creating weavings, looms. And she made them a promise that as long as the Navajo people will be weaving and remember their weaving, they'll practice it, they'll never be hungry, they'll never be without shelter or clothing. And so all of these generations later, that's still true for us today, that as we are weavers, we still draw life and economy and income from our artwork, from Spider Woman's promise to us. That's where, in our Navajo tradition, weaving comes from. That's what the old people tell us. Benancio Ergan, Yinishe, she twahid lini le shodo, nakai bashashin, aro tanhabetli edish chedo, nakai dashanale, totkat dent nasha.
Arvita Erganin, Shia, Toy, Leaning, Slon, Tanabeshli, Bashichin, Todich Igni, the Shiche, Hanakli, the Shinale, Deshiaj, Anitla, Itlo.
My name is Zephyrin Anderson. Hushksashin Lashle, Hoatlana Basachin, Kitlachitni Dashache, Ashi Dashanale.
Yad she a reda begain is yadod is a landnishlan is she bashishin, Tachini dashiche, dobit Agni dashanel, Eastlands Baste, Easy Nasha, Telsodes Ahade, Easy Shagan.
Yad she Kia Ani Nishle, do Twitch eating bashishin, Tlizlana dashiche, do Hashlashni dashanella, Le Jadet Hote, Aisana Shando, Trotish Adishagan. Kevin Aspus Yinishe.
Yad she Marcia Bigay Yinishe, Nashashin Ishle, Ma Idishkijni Bashishin, Oze Tachini Dashiche, Kintachini Dashanelle.
Yad she Alicia Caroline She, no da Diné Nishle, not Odine Bashishin, but Ani Dashiche, Ashe Dashanelle. Not Aninez de Nasha. Aro not Aninez de Shagan.
I think when we examine weaving in this lens of art, that's sort of a Western view, because in our indigenous cultures, indigenous traditions, art wasn't something that was separate from everyday life. Like baskets and textiles, they were all things, and ceramics, potteries, personal adornments, these were all things that people used in their everyday lives. They just happened to be beautiful.
I find beauty in stripes. A lot of people, they can't see it. They can't see the beauty in just something that's functional. A lot of the weavings fulfill a daily need, that if you make it for that daily need, it teaches you so much more about the mindset of the people who used to weave it. And since I've adopted that philosophy, I've learned so much more about Navajo weaving, and it cross-led with our history and so many other things, to where I've compiled pretty much all the knowledge I need to recreate a chief blanket that fulfills all the qualities that were written about it about 300 years ago.
For myself, I like the challenge of recreating some of these weavings. They have an aesthetic to them, and a feel, and a smell even, that you look at it and say, this is a rug from like a different decade or different time period.
You can't really copy something that's already been made. You always have to put a slight twist in it. Even though it may look the same, there's something in there that only I know that made it different. The way I see it is beyond its use to further the human experience through art. I tend to think of it as our ancestors' plan B. That all things being equal, in the event of a catastrophic loss of knowledge and technology, as long as we keep our ability to create weavings, we leave ourselves a textbook of how to be critical thinkers. You're not left without ability to live. And since it's interdiscipline, to weave, you have to have livestock or plant fibers. So you're tied to the land, and growth, either through animals or plants, which means their needs, which are pretty much the same as your needs. So you start talking about how do I work with the land? How do I work with the available water? How can I help the land, help the water? So it's all interconnected, and one part can fill in the voided knowledge that might be lost from all the others.
I think, you know, in our ancient culture about being self-sufficient, weaving is part of that paradigm. And indigenous peoples today, not only for the Navajos, but everywhere, you know, our ancient knowledges, our human ecological knowledges, our ancient arts, they're all tied to landscapes and to the natural world. Knowledge of ecologies and animal husbandry and geology, weather cycles, and so on. And it's true that, you know, if our modern way of life in this industrialized world was challenged, if there was a major catastrophe to food distribution systems, our electric grid, or our monetary system based in fiat, there would be a lot of chaos. You can think about weaving as sort of stored labor in a modern capitalistic sense, as that, you know, you work every week in wage labor and you expect to get paid every 2 weeks. For us, it's like putting money into a bank, and when you need it, it'll come back and help you. And so if you mix these two worlds, you know, if you maneuver between this purely Western capitalistic system and practicing your indigenous culture, you can make a living for yourself today. But you have to be sort of smart and sensible about it.
That's where I find that balance, because there's not only just the weaving itself, there's the stories and the songs that are part of the culture. And so there's that balance between both. I'm able to participate in my culture and recite these prayers and songs, and then in turn, you know, I'm able to go to the capitalistic side and make a profit off of my weavings.
In the utilitarian past, when we needed those things every day, when we used them every day, it would continue. But in another sense, your spiritual well-being, you know, your sense of a person and your tribal connections, I think it's important to continue these technologies, these techniques from the past.
I currently serve as the project director for Diné, iiná, and our mission is to promote, preserve, and protect the Navajo Lifeway. It encompasses everything from weaving, the sheep, and the Navajo Lifeway. In part of our programs, we also have a saying called Diné, iiná, the sheep is life. That's part of our pre-celebration or celebration name. Just our Navajo way of life in general, how important sheep has been to our people, and how it can benefit the people. In our organization, we teach our weavers and sheep producers about, we have workshops around this, on how they can become self-sufficient, how they can process their own wool, how they can find a niche market in these in the fiber artist world, and how they can sell these at a higher price through social media, using a website, utilize technology as a platform to successfully make a name and a business for themselves.
And so you really see weaving surviving, but it's undergoing another major transition right now. The technology is still the same as 1,000 years ago, but the ways people are approaching it, I think, are changing slowly.
The younger generation can work with the elders and helping them connect with the technology part to help sell weavings or to become entrepreneurs through the technology platforms. We've had elders who may not have access to the internet, who live in remote areas but may have grandchildren who can help them take photos, sell it for them. It can be as simple as an online marketplace. So that completely omits the trading posts and the middleman out there, and not just getting it at a flat wholesale rate.
Because we don't go to trading posts and we don't operate under this notion of tradition, we are free to continue our artwork and continue to change it and expand upon what our ancestors have done in the past.
You have to consider the weavings and the art that they produce almost like a job. You have an hourly rate. How much time and resource have you invest into putting into this weaving or this art piece that you make that's by hand, that all the materials and supplies came from your backyard, came from the sheep.
In the old days, that's how a person was regarded, as whether they were a good weaver. You had to be a good shepherd, a good spinner, a good carter, a good dyer, and then finally a good weaver. And all of those things together created a Navajo weaver. Beyond the economic benefit they afford you, it's sort of undescribable, but they can afford you another intangible benefit, something that is very gratifying to your soul. And if you're in connection to your indigenous histories, your creation stories, your spiritualism, then you realize that these aren't just items, that they have a living, breathing memory of culture attached to them. The production of them, the actual process of weaving. A lot of artists, a lot of Navajo people will say that weaving is more important itself than the final product, because when you're working with your loom, you're actively creating something that's beautiful. You're bringing beauty into the world from your thoughts, and this is one of those intangible benefits that you can't touch, and so it's beyond the final product, and I think that's an important aspect of weaving itself too.
Before the 1950s, very seldom did any trader write the name of the weaver on the tag on his rug. Didn't matter. And today, that's entirely different. A weaver comes in, you document who wove it, you take their photograph, and you keep everything tied together, and people collect those individual weavers' work.
And in today's modern world, without these Indian art markets and so on, a lot of these things, they would just stop being produced because there would be no economy for them. I mean, naturally, things that are used in religious doings, they would still be made for use by Native people, for Native people. But to reach out to a broader market, I think that the shift from crafts to arts and attaching your name and signing things is how people are continuing to survive today.
The great thing about Navajo weaving, as we see it, and our opportunity to work with it, is to promote the art form to people all over the world, to try and encourage young weavers to continue, and to create an atmosphere where these pieces are recognized as pieces of art. It's been a long time coming, because in Europe and other parts of the world, textiles have always been considered an art form. In the United States, it wasn't really until the 60s and 70s that people began to look at these weavings and realize that this is an incredible piece of American history. People will learn about the art form and we'll find that it's able to continue, at least in some small way. So we're hopeful that that's the goal of what we do here, is to keep this art form alive.
Weaving and all of these indigenous art forms, in the utilitarian past, when we needed those things every day, when we used them every day, it would continue. But in today's world, things like this aren't needed as far as everyday life. But in another sense, your spiritual well-being, your sense of a person and your tribal connections, I think it's important to continue these technologies, these techniques from the past.
It's a really complicated question to ask about balancing Anglo and Navajo, Navajo views of, economy and that kind of stuff. Right now, I view it as I'm already living that balance, being a Navajo in this contemporary world, and capitalistic, It's kind of, I have my foot in there because I sell my weavings. That balance that I find is kind of completed with weaving itself, because I'm participating in something that's kind of like the natural order of life. I'm creating a piece, and weaving, they're alive. They're not just simple things on the loom. They have they breathe, the fiber comes from living animals, and I'm able to manipulate the fiber and put it into weft and weaving it up into an art piece.
The Navajo Churro sheep and the idea of sheep in our culture started in our creation stories. The spirituality behind our sheep and animals is to help us, become self-sufficient. And a lot of times, when you butcher, when you process the sheep, the wool, there's always prayers, songs associated with everything that we do. So when you become a weaver, when you have sheep, you begin to learn and understand how important the relationship is between the sheep, the land, and yourself as people.
When we talk about weaving and being important to our culture, if it's something that lost, it kind of affects everything within our culture, because it's such an old art form that when we lose it, it'll affect not only just our language, but also our ceremonies, because there are certain weavings and techniques that are needed for the ceremonies that we have. There's specific weavings that are only done for ceremonies, and the weavers are sometimes commissioned especially for those ceremonies. In a lot of the Navajo ceremonies, baskets are used. It's a very sacred art form. It's something that we're told you can't play around with. When we talk about art, it's something that we see as subjective, I guess you could say. Pieces that you can hang on walls that are not really ceremonial, don't have any ties to any particular ceremony in the Navajo culture. Pieces that are aesthetically beautiful and pleasing to the eye. Not that none of them are not pleasing, all of them are beautiful. It's just compared to a ceremonial blanket, a ceremonial weaving, those pieces have a lot of symbolism, more so that are tied to the creation stories, to the ceremony itself. And there's a certain way that some of these blankets and some of the baskets are made.
The story's written down where there was a woman who was a iiná. In my grand uncle's version, they just called her a touch-eating woman. And she wasn't particularly marriageable. I'm paraphrasing my uncle and the story, so I don't give too many details. But she was alone by herself and made a living grinding other people's corn and weaving for them. And she went around doing that, going house to house, until she came across Spider-Woman. And every day that she visited, Spider-Woman taught her a new weaving that she completed that day. And I like the story because it's really specific to the 4 types of weavings that we're taught. And they all talk of cotton, but the first weaving was a white square cotton blanket that can either be painted or dyed with patterns in it. The second one was they call it weft floating blanket. It's woven with, not with heddles, but with a needle. So you can make patterns in just the weft floats. And the third weaving actually references what everyone famously calls the chief blankets. It's just an everyday blanket with black and white stripes. And on the 4th day, she was taught the tapestry technique, to where she puts patterns around her into the weaving. And that became the basis of a lot of our weavings. And I just love this story because it's specific to the weavings. Weavings that were still around by the time that Europeans started documenting our weavings. So in a way, the story has a basis in reality. And we see it every day with all our weavings.
In the Navajo creation story, there was Spider-Woman. Spider-Woman is in our stories to teach us about life, and in doing so, she started showing her grandchildren, the twins, how to weave their lives. She would place out a rainbow of warp in front of them and tell them, they need to weave their lives in beauty, creativity, and with a lot of thought and thinking, no mistakes. When they left on the rainbow, they had a lot of obstacles and difficulties that came along their way, and to me, I incorporate that into how I weave my rugs. And the same way in life, it's very difficult, and no matter how hard it gets, it needs to be perfect and well balanced, and it's very precious.
If you want to be rational about Spider-Woman, since she is the oldest and exists outside of time, she has access to all weaving knowledge that will come and has come. So in a way, there's so much more we haven't come up with that she, or in some form or another, be able to inspire us to do.
For some weavers, you can talk to them, and they can work half a year and make thousands. And for them living out on the reservation, where you have sheep and you do your own farming, you can make a pretty good living for yourself. But a lot of weavers live in cities and towns today, and the cost of living is much more expensive. And so that's when it gets difficult. But yet, even though you may have another job and you still weave, when the time is needed, your weavings will come back and help you, as Spider Woman's promise to us. It'll always keep you from going hungry and from being without shelter and homeless. And I found that to be very true.
I think just the practice of it is very important, because from countless generations we've had weaving. It's something that goes back quite a long ways in our culture, and in every generation there has to be people who preserve the knowledge and that practice it. And we could very easily within one generation lose our ancient arts and our languages. There's always been people that pass it on. So I think that's the greatest hope for the future, is just to keep practicing it.
In reconnecting with my family roots and the land, I went back to our old sheep camp where, I heard those stories. Strangely enough, I went into the house and I found a bundle in one of the closets. I unrolled it. The outside weaving fell apart, but inside that bundle was 2 weavings and a World War II signal marker kit, about this long. But in that bag was all my great-grandma's weaving tools, along with her spindle and a few weavings that were warped up, but no one had worked on it. I guess you can say the weaving and the tools made it possible for me to learn how to weave, along from what my grandmothers have. And that's how all my knowledge has been. It's just partly my textbooks is always the weaving. And that curiosity has led me to Roy and the apprentice program. And it just always seems like things were made to be a certain way.
Things would change a lot if weaving is lost, weaving in general, if it got lost.
I don't believe the Navajo would have survived as a people the way they've survived, because that's an art form and part of their culture that's helped to keep them together. Weaving is the essential traditional Navajo art form.
I don't see us losing our weaving so soon, like right away, overnight. But if we don't continue to teach the next generation behind us, then that's a flag, a red flag that's that's saying that we're not doing enough to teach others.
Our weaving tradition was taught to us by one of our most revered and honored deities, the Spider Woman. And her promise was to the Navajo people that as long as they continue to weave and practice her art, that they would never be hungry or be without shelter or clothing. And that's a very true thing, even for today's world as we transition to sort of a capitalistic paradigm, is that these ancient arts that we used to clothe ourselves with, we can engage in a monetary system and transfer our arts and textiles into money that can buy food and can buy shelter.
it's so interdisciplined that you can't just be one thing when you're a weaver. It's partly therapist, part scientist, part historian. You're a farmer, you're a pastoralist. It's all encompassing. It just seems more, there's more there than, just art. It's how you can say 10,000 years of Diné and human survival, not just for us, but all over the world.
In today's language, the term minimalism is used to describe the shedding of excesses of materialism. The best allegory for self-sufficiency and minimalism comes to us in the form of our oral histories relating to Chaco Canyon and the great gambler, Navajo Lifeway. There, in another time, certain people used knowledge as power to obtain excessive amounts of material and spiritual wealth. This way of living by the Chaco people was not self-sufficient and sustainable, for it took networks of trade and commerce to support that experiment.
The situation that most Native Americans are in now is not by nature more so a subject of their environment. It's by choice, by their experience. That cycle of growth, greed, and decline has happened in pretty much every Native American tribe's oral stories. In Navajos, it's Chaco Canyon and the rise and fall of Gambler, where the weavings and the need to acquire wealth superseded, being human, taking care of your fellow persons and the land, to where resources are used to where they practically are non-existent just to acquire more wealth. What happened there is the end result of greed and capitalism.
So it's about mass acquirement of wealth and power. These oral histories that speak about Chaco Canyon are.
The way our ancestors chose to deal with that is just to kind of, not put the brakes on it, but slow down. You don't have to be the way that those ancestors acted, to where their system was unsupportable.
These Navajo oral histories about Chaco Canyon and the Great Gambler, again, if we look at them in the lens of historical account and not, cute myths and legends, they definitely portray the ancestral Pueblo past much differently than Western archaeologists have rendered it thus far. But as we move forward in time, many of archaeologists, as well as many indigenous people, have voiced opposition to this romanticism. And the real history, as preserved in the Navajo oral histories of the Great Gambler, speak to a definite hierarchical paradigm, a time when elites and nobles were in charge of the world and using knowledges to their benefit.
And I see a lot of parallels with our modern world now, that even though we who take care of the land can ultimately see what's going to happen, most people, as long as they're doing well and they have money, don't see that. And I love our oral stories for at least warning us about it. And I find it strange now that even though we were warned about it, a lot of us are guilty of following what they did at Chaco. And when the system collapsed, they were left without the ability to feed themselves. If we keep what makes it possible to weave, we will never be truly without a way continue to exist.
Eventually, according to our oral histories, fundamental laws of nature and human resilience took over. The experiment known as Chaco ended, and the Pueblo people moved and remade their lives anew. As weavers today, we see the dangers of materialism in the form of capitalism. We don't need more than what our ancestors had to weave and to continue weaving. When we go out in the world and we sell our own art, there is always an attraction to want more. This is where the stories of Chaco remind us to avoid excesses, not only of materialism, but also to be humble practitioners of our ancient arts.
You can't just weave to make money, because when you go into weaving, it opens so many doors that you did not see before you started weaving, that you have to go learn your language, you have to seek out elders, you have to work as a community, you have to put your needs aside to what the needs are of the people around you. And together you all share life's little ups and downs to where not one person is totally left in a state of hopelessness or loneliness. That's exactly what weaving taught me.
My grandma, when she escaped from Fort Sumner, she saw the mountains and she made a song about mountains, the 4 sacred mountains. And the song is pretty much saying how beautiful you are to see. I'm back home. Hanga oh yeah, hanga ah hey oh yeah na. Hanga hanga ah hey yeah hanga oh yeah. Hanga ah hey oh yeah na. Hanga ah hey neyanga saat nagay hanga anga so de hanga anga big hojo hanga anga saat nagay hanga anga dog o sleep hanga anga hanga ah hey oh yeah na. Hanga ah hey neyanga hanga oh yeah hanga ah hey oh